and welcome to Reliving My Youth. My name is Noel. My guest this week is Frank Jasper. Frank played Brian Shute in the movie Vision Quest, which is celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. Can't believe it's been 40 years. Absolutely love that movie. Really didn't do much in the theaters, despite having Madonna sing Crazy for You in the bar. But it's lived on as a cult classic. And Brian Shute was basically Matthew Modine's character, Loudon Swain's white whale. All he had to do was try to meet weight to face Shute at the end of the movie. We talk about how Frank got the role, whether or not he had any wrestling background prior to that, just the legacy of the movie, whether or not he met Madonna, and what Frank is doing now, and could there be a Vision Quest show in the works? Frank answers all those questions. Really enjoyed my conversation with Frank, and I hope you do as well. So, Frank, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for reaching out to me. Like I said, I love the name of your show, and so let's go relive some lives, some earlier
Yeah,
lives.
absolutely. And one movie that it's celebrating its 40th anniversary this year, which it's amazing. When the movie came out, it kind of just came and went. I remember seeing it on HBO, and I was immediately was hooked. It's Vision Quest, and it's a cult classic. Like I said, didn't really do much in the theaters, but we're still talking about it 40 years later. It's such a lasting impression. The movie, it's touched so many lives. I mean, hell, there's bands that are named after Vision Quest characters and stuff like that. It's music and everything like that. And so, what do you think the legacy is about for Vision Quest?
I think it hit a lot of notes. I think that it was well ahead of its time. I think it captured a moment as well. So like you and me, we grew up in the
Yeah,
80s, and so it
right.
has that feel. And so all those people that are our age, like, oh, I so remember like when I heard that song or when that was going on or Madonna, like, I
Mm.
mean, she was unknown when she
Right.
was cast in that film. And by the time the film came out, she was just skyrocketed. And so to the point that in Europe they didn't label it. It was labeled as Crazy for You,
Right.
starring Madonna.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how insane that was.
Right.
So that and that it still hits all those, I think it still hits all those questions that we have as youth. Like, who am I? How do I fit in
Yeah.
this world? What is the extent of what is my possibilities? How far can I push myself? And where do I fit in? Um, Relationships, men and women relationships were both being addressed there, and the challenge of being kind of different in high school. I think everybody kind of feels a little different, and I know I did. I didn't feel
Right.
like I fit in, and I certainly didn't on certain levels. But it hits all those. It had comedy, it had drama, it had romantic relationship, and that was challenging. And he was trying to figure that out, and then it was the ultimate Rocky moment too. That
Yeah.
he was like, so he had all those components, and so the other piece that I look at when I watch the movie is that I just love the pacing of the movie. So I thought they did a brilliant job in pacing. Like 30 years anniversary, I hadn't seen it in a long time,
Okay.
and they did a 30-year anniversary in Los Angeles. My wife and I went, and I was
Right.
so nervous about like this is a 1980s film. Will this even hold up? And like, is it gonna just look too corny? And I was just impressed and amazed how well it just paced, moved
Yeah.
along while it kept you entertained, had new things always going on. So I think all those things are part of why I think it's still being talked about. And then, of course, there's a wrestling community who are staunch.
Right.
They
Of course.
they are big time Vision Quest, and they just keep passing it to the next generation. And now there's been this resurgence of 1980s. And
Yeah.
so all the retro stuff is very cool to these kids, and most of the kids that watch it they love it. They don't even mind the 80s haircuts. Um, and the 80s music is they're like this is cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean, just going back to Madonna for a second, I had Raphael Sbarge on a couple months
Oh,
ago, and he had a great Madonna story. He met her at the bar when they were filming. He introduced himself, and she's like, "Hi, I'm Madonna," and he's waiting, Madonna who? Waiting for her last name, and she's like, "Just Madonna," and he felt like, "Okay, I'm sorry, I had no idea." And then when the movie was out, it's like, "Okay, now we know it's just Madonna." So
right, right.
it's funny, but you touched like the pacing was great of that movie. There's no fat on the movie at all. It's just like I compare it to I mean, so many comparisons to the Karate Kid, but like Karate Kid has no fat on it. The pacing in that movie is great. It's just you
Yeah.
see it, there's nothing you can cut out of that movie anymore, and it's really fantastic. Now, how did you get involved? Did you have a wrestling background, an acting background, playing Brian Shute, which is pretty funny because like before the opening credits, we know who you are, and it's established that you are the top of the mountain of the movie
Mhm.
before we even hear like only the young, and so the credits start rolling, so we know what the main objective is of the movie within the first
Yeah.
30 seconds.
Well, to speak to that, the writers and the way they presented my character was he was felt and feared before, the big build up into the stadium scene.
Yeah,
And it's the iconic stadium scene is it lays the foundation, but it also really gives you like that then visual of everything that you've heard about. Like this
right.
guy is crazy. This guy is a beast. This guy, is just tougher than he was even last year. I
Yeah,
mean, nobody can stop him. And so you get a sense, they really built that part up well. So my character comes in with this great wave. And luckily, you got to look the part and act the part. And no, I didn't have any acting background. Yes, I had wrestling
yeah,
background. I wrestled for 3 years in high school, and then I also wrestled with a college team about 2 or 3 years before I did the movie. I wrestled with the team for the entire season. Um, yeah, Chris Blake, a friend of my brother, my little brother, who's 2 years younger than me. He was wrestling in Pasco, Washington, and I was working out that as an iron worker in Pasco, Washington, and he was at a small college and had nobody his weight. So he asked me because I was on unemployment at the time because they shut down all the nuclear reactors. I was
okay,
working as an iron worker on the nuclear reactors out in Tri-Cities. So I just happened to be like off work and getting
right.
paid. And he says like, hey, I could really use a training partner. So I got to go back into the wrestling world at that collegiate
Yeah.
level. I got to wrestle with him an entire season. He ended up winning the NJCAA national championship at
Oh wow.
192. So I mean, he was dedicated. He was fired up. So that was my wrestling background. I had martial arts background. I had judo background. I've
Right.
had, Tai Chi or like Tai Chi, Qigong and Reiki. So I've done all the internal
Mhm.
martial arts as well. So I've had a lot of background in different aspects.
Yeah.
And I loved all of that. I love all my experience in that martial arts world, and wrestling, I think, is extraordinary. So I came in with all of that, being able to carry that, as a character because I had done it before.
Yeah. Right. And Brian, she didn't really have too many, lines in the movie. So was that like learning your lines, just the acting part, was that kind of difficult? Because you had the wrestling part down, but was the acting part kind of hard for you to pick up or no?
Well, it's interesting because I came prepared.
Okay.
And like you said, there was not a lot of like a monologue that I was going to sit there and just
Yeah.
sit there for 2 minutes,
Right.
Elmo,
Yeah.
he's got like that powerful moment. No, I
Yeah.
was I just had to be a tough guy.
Right.
Like I just had to be a tough
Yeah.
wrestler. Don't mess with me. Don't mess with my brand. Don't mess
Yeah.
with, shoot. Um, and that was easily the way that I approached my bodybuilding because I was a bodybuilder at the
Okay.
time. I don't know if I mentioned to you, but I've mentioned in other podcasts that I was actually 215 pounds
Wow. Okay.
when I was cast in that movie, and I lost 25 pounds in 2.5 weeks, which was brutal. I did it
Yeah.
really just cold turkey kind of. Basically, I starved myself and
Right.
overtrained. Everything that we kind of what we did in the high school in the 80s and
Yeah.
not a good way to do it, but I got it done and I had to be closer to his weight
Right.
And I was at 189 pounds, so nowhere close to 169.
Yeah.
I was at 4% body fat because I actually did a water submersion, which, is like really lean. And I held that for 10 weeks. We filmed for 10 weeks, and we actually were shooting. If that movie would have finished and been released after that, it would have come out before Karate Kid.
Okay.
But what happened was we finished shooting. I went back to school. I went back to bodybuilding. 3 months later, I get a call. Oh, we got one more scene because they went back and edited it and looked at it like,
Right.
really need something here. So they did a real thorough edit
Okay.
and then, looked at it again and again and again. And then so they called me up and I'm like, okay, I'm 217 pounds now. It's 3 months later. I'm getting ready for a bodybuilding contest. Okay, they gave me a month this time. So I
Okay.
had 4 weeks, dropped the weight, flew me to LA. We filmed it, went back to school. Bam, I'm back in school, back in training, getting ready for a bodybuilding contest. I hit 225 pounds 3 months later.
Oh
Like
wow.
it kind of boomeranged. It's like I starved and then
Yeah.
my body rebounded and I came right back. And um, 3 months later, I get another phone call.
Of course.
And as they go, hey, we got one more scene we want to do. And that's when I said, I can't go down to 189. I'll go down to 200.
Yeah.
And that's the scene where I actually am wearing the jean jacket because they say, oh, it's not going to matter. You got a jean
Right.
jacket.
Okay. So
No,
that's
it
not
does.
bad.
But
Yeah.
if you look at it, you'll notice like, oh, yeah, he looks pretty big in that jean
Yeah.
jacket. Um, and so that was another 3 months. And then so we filmed in November, like about November of
Yeah.
80, I want to say
Three.
83.
Right.
And this came through
Mhm.
84. And then they finally released it
It's like
in
February. Right.
85 of
Yeah.
February.
Right.
And it was kind of like I think that they ran out of money to promote it. So it just got no promotion.
Okay.
And Karate Kid had just come out previously, so that kind of had grabbed that genre,
Yeah.
that Rocky mentality
Right.
genre, or Karate Kid or Vision Quest for, Matthew's character. So I think it would have played better. I think it would have done much better had it been promoted better and on a different time schedule. But like you said, it's lasted now, like Karate Kid, which is still
Yeah.
being talked
Of
about.
course. Yeah.
It's lasted 40 years and it's still in the zeitgeist of wrestling and in like these movies like Vision Quest that are they're very entertaining.
Right. And you mentioned like the introduction of Shoot where he's holding the log, climbing up, the stairs of the stadium. That's got to be one of the greatest entrances in like movie history when you first see a character. It's like right up there when you see Darth Vader, like
Yeah,
emerge from from the spaceship. I mean, I'm not saying Shoot's, evil as Darth Vader. He's not even, a bad guy.
right.
I mean, they have the line where he's he's a bleeder and stuff like
Yeah,
that, but he's not. He's just good at what he does.
yeah,
And it's not like Johnny from Karate Kid where you can say there's some sort of like bullying. And I know people say, "Oh yeah, Ralph Macchio is the evil guy in the movie," but Shoot's just a really good wrestler.
yeah. I love that they did it that way, and it's so easy to fall back on that, like,
Classic 80s bully.
it's like,
Yeah,
yeah, oh, he's gonna like get the guy in the ground and then he's gonna torque his shoulder,
yeah,
just because he can.
right.
That's not, that's like, that's what I loved about direction we went. Now, yes, they added the scene with the bleeder, but I
Yeah,
think it added to the film so that there was a little bit more friction
yeah,
between the two before the big match. And
right.
so it's like, oh, so Matthew came in and tried to like find out what he was doing. And then so Matt, Shoot comes out and
Yeah,
just kind of like, oh, I'm just gonna get in his head a little bit.
right.
I'm gonna show up. But you're right. They really made him out, and I really like that. He's not a bad guy. He's just Mr. Wrestle, and
Yeah,
don't mess with his game. That's
right.
it. Nobody gonna mess with his game.
Yeah, I know. Absolutely. Did you have any like help with training some of the other like actors being wrestlers since you had some background?
No, no, no. So that had already been established, well established for a couple
Okay.
of months. Now, the reason it was wild that I cut weight that 25 pounds in 2.5 weeks because they had cast this role twice before, and neither one of those guys worked out for whatever reasons.
Okay.
And so they were 2.5 weeks away from filming.
Wow.
And so they had to find somebody quick. Well, one of the things that I had to do, there was 5 rounds of auditions that I went through, and one of the things I had to do was go to this wrestling practice that they've been holding for the last couple of months
Okay.
and show the coach, who was Cash Stone, who was running all the wrestling and had all the
Yeah.
kids, and he trained all of the actors as well. So that was his responsibility. Really amazing man. He was probably, I want to say, about 40 years as a coach in Meade, Washington.
Wow.
Loved in the community. Guys, just soulful. He's one of those people that you always want to perform for him,
Yeah.
to your best
Right.
level. And you know that he would never ask you to do something he wasn't willing to do himself.
Yeah.
So he's one of those kind of coaches that you just really want to perform well for. And so he ran that whole wrestling division.
Okay. Yeah. 'Cause, like Raphael told me, like they worked him pretty hard during that time.
Well, I don't know. Were you a wrestler?
Me,
Did you
no.
wrestle?
No.
Okay. So I did you play sports?
Oh yeah, I played basketball in high school and everything like that. Yeah, tennis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love sports. I love basketball,
Yeah.
baseball, football. I played just anything. I was a water skier and a snow
Okay.
skier. I was a high level competitor. Anything that I did, I always pushed myself to the extremes. But wrestling was one of those sports that is completely different than most other sports in that it takes a whole nother level of fitness that you don't
Yeah.
get by running
Right.
or by hitting a tennis ball or playing basketball. Yeah, you can get some cardio, but you're using
Yeah.
all these different muscles that you're not
Yeah.
using in any of the other sports because it's dynamic. You have to be strong in every position, and be aware of your body. It's considered, besides gymnastics, to be the best sport to help you with kinesthetic awareness, which means your body in space and time.
Right. Okay.
So it has that component. Um, so yeah, these
Yeah.
guys really got a good inside look and feel what it like to work
Yeah.
out. And yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. So what made you like decide to wrestle in high school?
Um, be- because I moved to Coeur d'Alene as a freshman. I'd never been exposed to wrestling. I weighed about 110, 12 pounds. I was
Okay.
small.
Right.
I was like, when I graduated, I was still only weighed 155
Wow.
pounds. So you're not going to see it. Our family matures later, like more in the college eras.
Okay.
That's when we'll usually kind of hit more of our growth and final growth periods and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
maturity. So I was still really small. And one of the guys on the team says, "Hey, wrestling coach saw you out here." And they're always looking for lightweight people to fill in those
Yeah.
lightweights. And he says, "You would be great at a lightweight." And so I just was like, okay, I just need to kind of get into the group and, learn, connect with people here at
Yeah.
the school. And so I think give it a shot.
Yeah. So like your first like match or your first like practice, were you like, I regret this?
Not at all.
Oh, okay.
It was like I grew up fourth, fifth, sixth grade. My dad was a black belt in judo,
Oh wow.
and
Okay.
his co-worker said, "We really want to learn judo." And what you know, my dad studied judo in Japan while he was in the Air Force.
Okay.
And so he got it like straight from the horse's mouth,
Right.
if you would say that. But and boy, they were tough on him because he was considered a gaijin, which means you're not
You're an
Japanese.
outsider. Yeah.
You're a white boy.
Right.
And we're going to show these white boys what judo is really all
Yeah.
about. They were super tough on him. But he got his black belt and we had a class, and so I learned how to throw, be thrown, roll, land,
Yeah.
do groundwork, and so there was some background I had,
Okay.
and I enjoyed that. So I enjoyed the wrestling aspect as well.
Right. That's great. So the final scene with you and Matthew, how long did it take for you to shoot that?
It took an entire week.
Wow.
We shot for about 18 hours Monday, 18 hours Tuesday, 12 hours Wednesday, about 6 to 8 hours on Thursday and Friday
Wow.
to get that
Yeah.
one, what, 3 to 5 minute
I mean,
match.
yeah. Did the two of you like rehearse off camera for a while too? No.
The interesting thing, and I think it worked out really well. Matthew was, training with the team and learning
Yeah.
how to wrestle, and I was kept very separate. I actually
Okay.
was in North Idaho. I mean, I was at Eastern Washington, so they all had their setup and training in Spokane, and then when filming started, it kind of
Mm,
got messed up as far as their thing. So I would wrestle with the team at Eastern Washington just to kind of stay in
okay.
shape and
Yeah.
still have my moves down. We choreographed it, and the coach, myself, and one of his other wrestlers choreographed it. And they said, "Oh yeah, the director really likes this move, that move, that move." And so
Yeah.
we created this scenario. And had never practiced with Matthew beforehand, and
Mm,
so it was. On one level, it was really good because there was still that antagonistic energy that was
yeah.
still there that, it's just
Right.
built into not knowing, and it's just my character
Yeah.
against his character and the lines that set you up for that. So it played well. I think it
Yeah.
played well on the screen, played well on the mat.
Right. Overall, like, what did you think of him as a wrestler?
He did really good. If you've been a wrestler, if you've gone in through that, if you haven't had any background, if you've been firstly exposed to it, your first year of wrestling, you're just trying to figure things out.
Right.
You're trying to like you remember certain moves and also just try and like counter, do anything you
Yeah.
can, but you're basically a fish. I mean, you really don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You have so much to learn as far as, escapes and takedowns and referees positions and different positions you want to like find yourself in and how to get in and how to get out of these moves. You're still learning all of that.
Yeah.
So it's like a learning thing. He did a hard learning curve. So for that period of time that he was training, he did extraordinarily well to make it look like he was a wrestler.
Yeah.
So I have to give him kudos for
Hmm.
doing the job that he did in the short amount of time that he had.
Right. And just the way, like in the movie, he went about it, like cutting weight and doing like not eat basically, and just wearing the suit. How do you have strength to actually wrestle?
You know, and
Hmm.
that's one of the big things that I don't like about the movie, that it kind of personifies that. And so what I've been doing, I left Hollywood after about 3 years, and went back and got my master's degree in Oriental medicine. My wife
Right.
and I opened a clinic, Health, Fitness, and Longevity, which we ran for the last 27 years. I left we moved from Pacific Palisades 4.5 years ago, and I started just focusing on clinical nutrition for
Okay.
just all my patients that I could still work with from a distance. And then I started really dialing in on what it takes to perform at optimal levels as a wrestler. And I feel like we've done everything pretty much backwards. Like you just said, how can you be ready
Yeah.
when you starve yourself, you dehydrate yourself, you overtrain? And now you're supposed to go out and perform at the highest levels possible. You can't.
Right.
It doesn't happen. Now I've gone around the country and done, appearances at different like tournaments. They'll bring me in for a tournament.
Yeah.
And the thing that I hate the most is when I hear one of these kids go like, "Ah, man, I've only had like 3 almonds today, and that's it." It's kind of like, no, that's not how you get ready for a competition of
Right.
tournament where you're going to wrestle 3, 4 matches in a day and then have to come back and wrestle more. It makes no sense. And so I started coming up with a different understanding of like, okay, we're not going to starve ourselves. And if we are going to cut weight, we're going to do it in a way that supports the body's processes and it doesn't starve the body and the brain of nutrition. Because as soon as you dehydrate the body, the first thing you lose is endurance. And then your
Yeah.
brain is even more is it has more water in it than the rest of your body. So
Right.
now you're not going to think as quickly as you possibly should be able to make these quick decisions, what you're going to do. And you'll get fatigued quicker. And as soon as you get fatigued mentally, you're going to be fatigued
Physically.
physically.
Right.
So I've come up and I've been working with, Nick Suriano as one of the guys that I worked with now for over 6 years. He's a incredible wrestler out in New Jersey, four-time state
Right.
champion, two-time national champion. We won one national championship together when he was wrestling for Michigan, and then gone on to win at, higher levels in international competition, Pan Am Games.
Right.
We were at the Olympic trials. For him a couple of years back.
Yeah.
And so we found out that there's a much better way to do this, and that's not starving the body. And that's not carb loading. That's not,
Yeah.
dehydrating. There's a way, and I've done research for over 30 years on nutrients that can feed the body, feed the brain as you're trying to cut the calories. So that's what we've been refining. I think we've got it down pretty good. Everybody, by the way, is going to be, their nutritional needs will be different.
Right.
Everybody's microbiome is different. Everybody's physical needs and nutritional needs are different. So it has to be tailored to each individual athlete.
Have like other sports like brought you on as a consultant or for your services too?
I have I've talked to I got an MMA fighter that's
Okay.
interested, that I'm working with, and I've actually reached out to tennis stars. This one
Mm.
that's one of our top stars in the country right
Yeah.
now. I reached out to her coach, and unfortunately, it was like I can see where I could really help her nutritionally. And she ended up in that process of me communicating with him. She ends up winning the U.S. Open, and then after that, it was just like a
Right.
storm of,
Of course.
everybody wanted a
Everyone
piece of
wants,
her,
yeah.
and so my voice was not in there loud enough to get seen. But yes, I would love to work with Coco Gauff.
Yeah.
That's the woman I'm going to tell you because I
Yeah.
think she's got such fire in the soul, and I posted something back in I play tennis.
Okay. Yeah.
Back in when she was 15 years old and she made it into the quarterfinals of Wimbledon, I posted a picture and said, "This is the face of the future of women's tennis." I
Yeah.
could just see what
Yeah.
talent she had at that time. So yes, it can be applied to other places. I also look to other sports to go like, okay, what are they doing that we're not doing that we can benefit from?
Right.
And I looked at these guys that are Tour de France. I read a few
Yeah.
books about how they train. They starve themselves.
Oh,
They
okay.
don't eat sugar.
Yeah.
They don't do all those things that, it's like, man, these guys are at 4%, some of them at 4% body fat, and they've got to ride for 28 days with the breaks in between for the Tour
Yeah.
de France. And so how are they doing it? Well, some of them are cheating. We know
Yeah.
that.
Of course. Yeah.
But guess one of the things they do?
Yeah.
They make big use of these ketone esters, which is
Okay.
exactly what I'm talking about. We're not going to do carbohydrate spiking, crashing, because carbohydrates spike your insulin and have energy and then you'll crash.
Yeah.
But there's a better form of energy, which is a breakdown of fats, which then release these ketone esters, which are pure energy for the body, and the brain loves those. These guys,
Mm.
60% of the peloton is being powered by ketone esters. So we're
Okay.
like, maybe we should look at that.
Yeah.
So I draw on as many different ways and different sports as I can.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when like wrestlers come up to you now and do they like think what you did or what Matthew did in the movie was completely unrealistic?
There are times when somebody like, there's no way that Matthew would ever beat
Yeah.
you. It's like, hey, it's Hollywood. And
Right.
guess what? Dan Gable got beat. He was
Okay.
undefeated.
Right.
He was undefeated through his entire collegiate career. He had one last match. His name's Larry Owings. Beat him
Yeah.
in one match. Guess what he did? It so and inspired him that he doubled down
Mm.
on his training, went into the Olympics, and won a gold medal. And not one athlete scored a point on him.
Wow.
That's how, you know,
Yeah.
focused he got after that one
Right.
loss of
Yeah.
his entire career. So things like that can happen.
Yeah, of course. In any sport. Yeah. Yeah. Do you think like just in sport, like he lost, so that motivated him more? Do you think athletes need that a little bit sometimes to be taken down a notch just
I
to
think you can absolutely get too cocky and get too
yeah.
comfortable. And it's like, when you're on the climb, you're on it and
Yeah.
you're focused. And when you're up there, it's like, I feel pretty good. It's like I
Yeah.
like being up here, and it's like, but it's almost like you got to double down at that point because
Right.
I think it's almost harder to stay there than it is to get there many times.
Agreed. Yeah.
You can get complacent, you can get old injuries. I mean, it's just so easy. I mean, you
Yeah.
talk to these guys, you look at them, the wrestlers. This is the closest
Yeah.
thing to being warriors that we have nowadays, besides football.
Right.
It's like the iron grid.
Yeah.
And, yeah, but they're all padded up. Doesn't mean it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
But I mean, these guys are clashing. They're butting heads. Their elbows. They're getting knees in the face. They're getting their nose broken. They're getting cuts over their eyes. Their ears are getting
Yeah.
cauliflowered. These guys are warriors. I mean,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. Have they like, or do you think they've can find a way to prevent the cauliflower ear?
Um, it's like I look at Nick, and he was one of the few that didn't really get his ears jacked up. I don't know what he did differently,
Right.
because he would wear I think some of these guys don't wear headgear and they
Yeah.
like to wrestle free. And so that makes them more vulnerable.
Right.
So you're definitely going to if you get popped, you get an elbow, you get a knee,
Yeah.
somebody's head, and you don't have that protection. Yeah. So is there a way to prevent it? Well, there's certainly a way to kind of make it less of an
Did
issue
you?
if you're
Right.
wearing the right headgear and you're wearing it all the time. But it's like, I never wore headgear when we wrestled and practiced.
Okay.
I started to feel like a swelling in my ear, but then we didn't have practice for a while and it went down. So it's
Yeah.
like I didn't have that experience. But
Right.
man, it's just part of the game. And you know what? A lot of the wrestlers wear that as a badge of honor.
I'm sure they do.
And
Yeah.
the girls.
They
And
love
the
it, right?
girls
Yeah.
wear that as a badge of honor. Like, oh, look at his ears. He's been wrestling
Yeah.
a while.
He's a man. Yeah. Yeah. So how heavy was that log? You carrying it up on the
Well,
was
that's always
it
been
hollowed
a
out?
question, for
Yeah.
people, and it was lightened up some. I don't know how they did it. It looked like a real log.
Yeah.
It was just a little under 100 pounds, so it wasn't too bad. And
Okay.
I was young and strong, and
Yeah.
so carrying up those stadium stairs
Right.
was not an issue.
Yeah. How many takes?
It was a super cold, like fall winter day,
Right.
and the sun was out. The
Yeah.
sun was out, and guess what? Everybody in the crew were in parkas and gloves and
Yeah.
stocking hats. Everybody
Except
in the
you.
crew was doing it. So I think that may have driven the fact that that we went pretty quick. We
Right.
got our lines done. We did our thing. As soon as they would say cut, I would have to throw on a parka.
Yeah.
That was not sweat on my face. That was glycerin so that it would look like sweat on my face. So yeah, but it went pretty quick and pretty clean, and it really, it turned out really good. I can.
That's good. One thing about the movie that always like it's a mystery, kind of bothered me is how Matthew got his new wrestling shoes.
Yeah, they never fixed that. They mentioned
Yeah.
it, but and this is something that Matthew mentioned, that they never fixed that. They never fixed that storyline. They
Yeah.
didn't. They cut it out.
Okay.
There was
Yeah.
supposed to be a moment that this guy goes, "Hey, listen,
He
I get it.
apologized, right?
You're not into guys, but
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But here's a great pair of shoes.
Yeah.
And wear them. I want to support you in your quest. I heard you have a quest." So there was a completion piece that they cut out, so you didn't
Yeah.
get that. So
Right.
he's just like wearing them over his neck on the
Yeah.
motorcycle. Hey, nice shoes. And they didn't get
Yeah. Kind of like a
something.
resolution. Right.
That's interesting you brought that up, but it is one of the pieces that the storylines they didn't finish.
Right. And like, why do you think like when he left the room, he started doing push-ups, like waiting for the elevator? Any idea why it was?
He's just obsessed. He's obsessed. He knows he has to keep burning energy.
Right.
And that freaked him out. So he wanted, like, the other pieces. I was like, I want to burn some of this energy off. This is
Yeah.
weird. This is weird. Right?
Right.
It freaked me out. So what do I do with that adrenaline? Like,
Yeah.
okay, use it.
Yeah. Now everything gets remade and rebooted. Any idea why they didn't reboot or remake Vision Quest?
There was a few times that they tried to redo it, and apparently the script wasn't strong enough. And
Okay.
then a producer that I was working with was working a Vision Quest 2 around Hollywood at one point, and he had a script and a concept.
Okay.
What happened was, oh, I think it was a writer strike came in and just blew everything out, and then COVID came and blew everything. So
Right.
there was like these different moments where things happened. And what I also feel is that there's been a lot of disruption at Warner Brothers. So, I mean, going on for the last two
Yeah.
years, we've tried to find the right person to speak with at Warner Brothers because
Yeah.
we actually have a series that's written that is like
Okay.
30 years, very much like a Cobra Kai. Like, what
Right.
happened
Okay.
to these guys? Here's what happened. Here's 30 years later.
Yeah.
Why did Shoot lose that match? What happened to him right before he went out on that? We answer that question. What happened to Carla? What happened? Did Matthew, did he
Yeah.
continue wrestling? What happened to these characters?
Right.
You know, did Brian Shute go down, in a pile, or did he do
Yeah.
what Dan Gable did? Was like, I'm getting back on this horse, and yeah, that's a wake
Yeah.
up call. Not ever going to happen again.
Right.
So we've got a script. It's been a script and it's a series, and so we've got episodes.
Okay.
Uh, we've had it to a couple of different studios. They read it, loved it, and they said, "You just got to get the IP, which is intellectual property from
Right.
Warner, and we'll make this."
Oh wow. That's probably the hardest
So
part.
that's how close we are. We're like
Yeah.
so close, but we got to talk to the right person at Warner Brothers.
Yeah. Okay. Is that something Matthew would be interested in, you think?
He's waiting for us to get all these pieces together before he's going to be,
Right. Okay.
he's like, yeah, go get those things organized and then come back and talk to me about it.
Right. Because
I
I mean,
mean, I
yeah.
hope so. I hope he'll
Yeah.
be interested in the project.
It'd be great. He still has fantastic hair, so yeah. So you also have you're wearing the shirt now, Shoots shirts, the website. We have some memorabilia on there. Just talk about that too.
So that came about because I was being asked to help promote like World Cup wrestling in Los Angeles. And they said, well, we want you to kind of come and put up a booth and kind of,
Yeah.
be there to sign autographs. And I was like, well, I need to sell something while we're there. So my brother said,
Yeah.
you should do shirts. So my wife, when I went with a graphic artist and we took pictures from the movie
Yeah.
and altered them so that they would be, artistically expressed and still have a feel and a connection to the movie.
Right.
And this is what we came up with, and it's people love the shirts. I
Yeah.
wear the shirt because I love the texture of the shirt.
Okay.
It's like a really wearable shirt. And so I do that. I have photos that I also sign, and this is a symbol. You can see this back here. I don't know if I can see that. That's a poster. It's a 40th anniversary
Right. I
poster.
saw that on the website.
I brought those. I just had that. This great artist, Steve Long, did all of these hand illustrated from
Yeah.
pictures from photographs, and so I like that it's very hand done and very beautifully presented, and it's honoring the 40th anniversary this year.
Yeah. So where can fans get this stuff?
So this is all at shootshirts.com, and it's spelled Shute, shirts like t-shirts
Yeah.
.com. And yeah, all that stuff is there. Um, have fun.
Yeah. That's awesome. And last question is, when fans come up to you, not like wrestling fans, just fans of the movie, what's the most asked question?
Well, one of them you asked was how heavy was the
A
log?
log. Okay.
Yeah, and did you meet Madonna? That was the other one.
Okay.
And I didn't, just so you know.
Okay.
So I was in this kind of interesting position to be in because I wasn't an actor. I wasn't, I was part of the wrestling, but not part of the wrestling because they had done all that wrestling for the previous 2 months.
Right.
And so now I was still training at Eastern. So I wasn't part of that either wrestlers or the actors. It was kind of in my own little world, in a little shoot world, I guess. And so um, I I never went to the set. Didn't think there would be even a reason for me to go to the set, just be in the way if
Yeah.
they're shooting. If I wasn't, the only time I went to the set is when I had, was called in to work.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to meet her. I didn't do any of the night shoots back in the bars and stuff like that because
Yeah.
my character wasn't in any of those.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. And you went to the premiere and everything like that, right?
Spokane had a premiere. It was
Okay.
wild. It's so surreal, I have to
Hmm.
say. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. But Frank, I really appreciate your time today. Everyone, go check out shootshirts.com. I got mine. Looking forward to wearing it and watch the movie. I mean, it still holds up. Music's fantastic. The story, the wrestling, everything is great about it. Besides the website, besides your nutrition, no stuff. What else are you up to?
Well, it's been pretty exciting. Besides the series that I'm working with the producer, I've come across a couple of other projects that I feel are they're real stories, very inspirational, they're uplifting, and have a background of wrestling in them as well. So I have a few other projects that have in development, and I'm coming back into doing some acting. I've been just focused on the acupuncture healing, but I'm circling back, and I actually have my first acting gig in a while. It'll be in August of this year in a small role as a drug dealer. All right.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. Hopefully it's nutritional drugs, right? Yeah.
But I'm excited because I've got the that opportunity, and if that piece does well, then he says there'll be more segments that we're going to do more. I think it's going to be a series. And then I have a couple other projects that I've been promised roles in. So I'm starting to slowly get back into the entertainment world, and I started doing some Comic Cons. I was out in New Jersey in April. I'll be back out in New Jersey in October. So look for me October 24th through the 26th.
Is
I'll
that
be up
the
in
is that
Canada,
the is that
possibly.
the Chilla Theater?
Yeah,
That's
that's a Chiller
oh, okay.
Theater.
Yeah, I live in Connecticut, and but I always wanted to go to those conventions because they always have great guests, and timing never works out. So
Yeah,
hopefully
yeah.
I'll be available in October. I'd love to come and
Maybe if it
catch
works
up.
out, be
Yeah,
sure.
definitely.
Reach out to me. We definitely can connect. And I'm doing other appearances. There's one in South Carolina in November 15th, I want to say. It's going to be on the warship deck,
Okay,
and so
nice.
they're going to wrestle on the deck of a warship out there.
Right.
Very cool. So I've got some really fun things that I'm looking forward to. It's kind of this 40th anniversary, kind of trying to get out there and get more people excited about it, find a way to get into Warner Brothers to get this project off the ground.
Yeah,
So there you go.
that's awesome. Yeah, hopefully it'll work out because I mean everyone loves these revivals now, and especially with the height, success of Cobra Kai.
Right.
This will probably be a home run as well. So, and once again, Frank, thank you so much for your time today.
You got it. Take care. Have a blessed day, my friend.
And a special thanks to Frank for joining me today. Go check out shootshirts.com if you want to purchase one of the shirts. They are fantastic. I highly recommend it. You can follow Frank on Instagram at visionquest_shoot1985. And if you have a guest suggestion, hit me up on X, formerly Twitter, at the first Noel19. Be sure to like the page Relive My Youth on Facebook. Go to iTunes, check out all the past episodes we've had. While you're there, please rate and review the show. I would really appreciate it. Don't have iTunes? Not a problem. Shows on SoundCloud, Spotify, Podbean, Amazon Music, YouTube. Basically, wherever you can find a podcast. New episode will come out soon. Stay safe, everybody. See you then.